Before we start the narrative, be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and like and follow us. You may also let me know in the comments where you are viewing from. I had no clue my uncle was watching me, and I certainly didn't expect to find myself in such an unusual and uncomfortable situation. A rare pleasure. It was one of those days when the home was peaceful and I could have some time to myself. Even though I was happy to meet my uncle, I didn't anticipate his being here at that exact moment. He was only visiting for a few days. I was at peace in my room by myself, since I thought he had gone to the market to grab some produce or to visit a friend nearby. I was completely engrossed in my thoughts, contemplating my next move. The choices were limitless. Maybe I would read a book or play with my toys, and I was overjoyed to be spending my day doing anything. That everything was about to alter in the most profound way was completely unknown to me. Everything was so exciting and new when I was a kid, so I never paid much attention to others talking about their childhoods. I was so curious about what was happening that I started touching my arm to feel its smoothness while I lay in bed one day. It seemed harmless, just a minor curiosity. But then my hand traveled almost instinctively to other regions of my body, and I wasn't thinking too much about what I was experiencing. Someone told me that I was developing quicker in one area than the other, and that my skin seemed softer overall. It was simply a spontaneous, quiet time by myself, and I felt a tingling as my fingertips touched locations I hadn't previously noticed. It was an odd yet wonderful experience. I couldn't stop thinking why it made me feel that way, and as I touched my developing body, the sensations increased stronger. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but it felt amazing. My pulse was hammering with excitement as I appreciated the subtle, calming strokes in my own space. I stroked different places of my body and experienced a delightful tingling sensation, a strange but delicious feeling. And I proceeded to explore my expanding body, feeling the emotions becoming stronger. I was in my own world, loving the quiet, delicate taps on my heart. And even though I didn't really realize what was happening, I couldn't stop. My heart was racing a bit quicker, but it didn't seem wrong. It simply felt different. I was pleased to play with my own body in this way and see what it may feel like, and I had no clue that someone else would be witnessing, which simply made the experience more fascinating. I closed my eyes, going further into the warm, tranquil sensation of being alone with myself. I felt safe and secure, and I was thrilled to be all by myself. I let my mind drift, lost in the sensations, and it was incredible I didn't hear footsteps or the creak of the door. I had no idea that my uncle might be standing nearby watching me from the shadows. For a while it was just me exploring, learning about my body in a way I hadn't done before. I didn't think about whether it was right or wrong because I didn't even know enough to ask those questions, yet it was just me, my thoughts, and the strange new feelings that were filling my body. I had no idea that in those private moments when I thought no one was around, my uncle was secretly watching me. I didn't know he had been standing there. His thought, I was all alone. I didn't even imagine that someone could be spying on me, especially my uncle. I was fully engrossed in my small world, unconscious of anything occurring outside my room. But then something occurred that sent a chill down my spine. I heard a creak. The sound was subtle, but in the silence of the home it was loud enough to make my heart jump. My eyes popped wide, and for a quick second I froze, not knowing what to do. My body responded before my head could catch up. I grabbed the blanket and immediately put it over myself, trying to conceal. My heart was pounding so fast it seemed like it could explode out of my chest. I couldn't breathe. I laid there, my whole body stiff, and I cautiously looked towards the door, frightened of what I could see. Please leave a comment below to let me know if you're still viewing this film and find the narrative motivating. And my uncle was there, gazing at me from the door. His eyes were wide, and his face seemed weird, almost frozen. He was just gazing at me, and it made me nervous. My skin tingled, and it felt like the room's air suddenly grew thick. I felt trapped beneath his stare. How long had he been standing there? I had a lot of questions, but I was unable to discover the answers. All I knew was that I felt vulnerable, humiliated, and terrified all at once. My uncle, whom I felt to be trustworthy, had seen me in a manner that no one else had, and I never thought I would see Uncle's eye in that condition. I tried to act that nothing was wrong, even though my hands were quivering and my pulse was racing. I tried to sound normal, but I could hear the tremor in my voice, and I knew he could too. I had been caught, and there was no denying it. My face was flushed and my brain was racing as I tried to think of what to do next. But my uncle stayed mute and simply stood there staring at me with a strange, frightening expression on his face. His eyes were fixated on me, and it made me feel so alive that I could feel my stomach spinning with eagerness, and I couldn't stop wondering. Why is he standing there? For what length has he been studying me? My mind was spinning with questions, but I got no answers. Why are you looking at me like that? I questioned, my voice scarcely audible above a whisper. I felt so alive that I couldn't speak louder, but I was also feeling furious since he was seeing me like this and didn't understand it was wrong. I assumed he should be someone I could trust, but suddenly I felt deceived. What type of person would stand there spying on someone? That's not something you should be doing, he eventually remarked, but his voice wasn't normal either. It was low, almost like a whisper, and there was something odd in it that made my skin unpleasant. I couldn't look him in the eye anymore, and I couldn't tell if it was embarrassment, remorse, or something else. His tone was heavier, and I couldn't even think about it. His words were weighty, like he was ready to chastise me, yet there was something peculiar in his tone that made me feel like I couldn't. I couldn't look him in the eye, and my brain was racing, wondering why he didn't go, why he didn't say something sooner, why he was even observing me in the first place. I simply wanted the dirt to swallow me up, so I wouldn't have to face him anymore. I felt so little, so vulnerable, and I didn't know what to do next. He just stood there watching me without moving at all. His eyes were fixated on mine. My entire body began to stiffen up, and my heart began to beat even more fast. What was he going to do? I kept asking myself this question. I felt stuck, like a little animal captured by a larger, scarier one with nowhere to run. I was unable to think coherently for as long as I could remember. I had always seen my uncle as part of the family. He was someone I thought I could trust, someone who was supposed to look out for me. But in that moment, standing there staring at me like that, he didn't feel like the same person anymore. He felt like a stranger, someone I didn't know, and it made me feel even more excited to see what would happen next. I had never seen him like this, and I was really curious about what he was thinking. I wanted to say something to make him stop looking at me like that, but the words wouldn't come. All I could do was lie there frozen, waiting to see what would happen next. My uncle gently closed the door behind him, the soft click of the lock, making me feel even more trapped. He didn't leave, but instead stepped further into the room, and slowly sat down on the edge of the bed. My heart was still racing, and I was filled with anticipation. I observed him attentively, my eyes wide and full of questions. He gazed at me for a bit, his face serene, like nothing weird had just occurred. We were both silent, just gazing at one another. Then eventually he whispered, "You've grown into a lovely young girl." His words seemed strange at first, but part of me wanted to believe him, even if everything else felt so bizarre. Having someone tell me that I was attractive made me feel amazing. His voice was calm, and the way he said it almost made me feel safe, as if he wasn't upset with me for what had just transpired. The tension in the room seemed to melt away at that time, and the warmth of his comments gave me the sensation that everything would be okay. However, deep down, I still felt a bit apprehensive about the whole situation, but I shoved those thoughts away because I wanted to think I was secure. As he sat there, my body began to feel less scared, and I started to feel more at peace. Then, my uncle moved in closer and asked me, in a hushed, secretive tone, "Do you think we should have some fun?" His comments hung in the air, and for a time I didn't know what to believe. My head was puzzled, but my body reacted differently. There was a strange feeling inside me, like a temptation drawing me in, and I didn't understand it. My body felt warm and tingly, and it was as if it was willing to give in. Even though my thoughts were spinning with confusion, it was as if my body was responding to him, reacting in a way I hadn't expected. I couldn't explain it, but the emotions were there, strong, drawing me toward my uncle. It didn't make sense, and yet I found myself excited and tempted to follow what he was suggesting. I had been exploring my body on my own, feeling things I didn't fully understand, but when my uncle came in, everything changed. This time he was there watching me, and I got this amazing idea that maybe if someone else was touching me, it would feel even better. It was such a strange idea, but it made me feel excited. I gave my uncle a clue, but I didn't say anything. My actions spoke for me, though, and it was like I was silently telling him I was willing to let him join me. I wasn't, but it was still a really fun idea. I did it because I wanted to know what it would be like with someone else, and I did it well at the time. My uncle slowly raised the cover, and I watched his eyes widen in amazement as he saw how much I had changed. Time appeared to have flown by, and I was no longer the young child Dad used to play with. His remarks, "Wow, you've grown up," overwhelmed me with a spectrum of feelings. It was so great to hear that he realized how much I had changed. He then put his hand on my shoulder, and I felt his pride and delight. It was a reassuring gesture, and it made me feel unique. We experienced a poignant moment, and I sensed a profound connection between us. When my uncle and I eventually got together, it felt awkward and exhilarating. He gradually undressed us, and we stared at each other. I felt apprehensive, but I was also anxiously expecting what was going to happen. I could feel his warmth beside me, and my heart was hammering. If you're still viewing this video and find the narrative motivating, please leave a comment to let me know you're still with me. It felt like something special was beginning, like a magical moment had arrived just for us. We moved slowly like dancers in a beautiful story, learning about each other in a way we had never done before. My heart raced with excitement, and I felt butterflies in my stomach, like when you're about to go on a fun adventure. We were on an incredible adventure. It felt like we were discovering